So a few weeks ago, I posted a video that went a little bit viral, and I got a bunch of comments on that video responding to the title, whether or not finger drumming counts as real drumming. And so I decided I wanted to take the opportunity to respond to some of those comments and give my official thoughts and definitions of drumming, finger drumming, whether or not it counts as real drumming. So first of all, who am I? Well, my name is Dragon, and I actually started out playing the acoustic drum kit. I started as an acoustic drummer when I was 14 years old, so 15 years ago now. And after 5 solid years of playing the drum kit, playing in different bands, playing all sorts of different styles of music, I discovered finger drumming and the potential that it had to play drums in a new and different way. So I've been playing finger drums for 10 years now, and I've been teaching finger drums professionally for 4 years. So the term finger drumming is actually typically used to describe when people use a MIDI pad like I do to play various different kinds of sounds. So they might combine drum samples with melodic samples and bass and other chops and samples, and they'll play them all at the same time to perform like a full song or a full track. But I don't use finger drumming that way. I treat it as strictly a percussion instrument. That's just the way that I like to play, and that's the way that I like to teach. And my focus is on setting up all the pads with just drum kit sounds and focusing on just playing the pads like a drum kit, like a little miniature kit of drums with my fingers. So personally, I see finger drumming as a legitimate, a valid, and a new type of drumming. So I think of it as a type of drumming or a category of drumming. Whereas I think a lot of people, when they think of what is drumming, they think only of an acoustic drum kit, a full kit of drums and cymbals. But there are lots of different types of drumming and percussion, obviously. There's hand drumming, where you just play on a single drum with your hands. There's kit drumming, where you play a full drum kit with sticks. There's electronic drumming, where you play a full kit of electronic drums, also with sticks. There's bucket drumming. You know, sometimes you see people playing a bunch of buckets with drumsticks on the street. And I think finger drumming is also a legitimate and valid category to add to all these different types of drumming, where we're playing drum sounds electronically, sort of like electronic drumming, but instead of using sticks, we're using fingers on pads. So I wanted to say a few things about the title of my video, which was basically alluding to the fact that I frequently get comments from people that say that finger drumming is not real drumming. So there's a few interesting things to pick apart here. The most important to me is, what does real drumming mean? Well, technically, real just means it exists. So if it exists, it's real, right? But I think what most people interpret that to mean is real drumming would be playing a acoustic drum kit. So people kind of think real equals acoustic, right? But obviously that's not really accurate, because electric guitar is still considered guitar. Same with electric keyboards. They're not using acoustics to create sound like a piano does, but it's still considered playing the keys. It's still legitimate in the eyes of most musicians. So when people see the words real drumming, they're wanting to think in terms of, you know, an acoustic drum kit. And if it's not an acoustic drum kit, it's not real. But obviously that's just not really true. You know, it is real, it does exist, and it doesn't have to be acoustic to be real and legitimate. So for me personally, I just consider drumming to be hitting something with something else rhythmically, right? And I think of it this way because humans have been drumming for basically our entire existence. I believe in some ancient cultures, drumming even preceded spoken language. It's a very human, a very primal thing to do, drumming. But of course, back then, if they didn't have spoken language yet, they definitely didn't have drums yet. It took a while before humans invented what we now call a drum, which is some kind of shell made of some kind of material, hollow, so it can resonate, and then some kind of material stretched over the top to create tension, and you hit the material on top, and it resonates through the shell. That's a drum officially, right? But humans were playing rhythmically. They were hitting things with other things rhythmically long before we invented, physical drums. So, you could be out in the woods, you could grab two sticks that you find, and you could start hitting a log. And I would call that drumming, right? And a lot of people would kind of just think, oh yeah, he's drumming right now. Even though he's not playing a official physical drum that has been manufactured and is standardized to be called a drum, it doesn't matter. He's drumming, Or if I use my hands to drum on my lap, that's drumming. People would agree that, oh, he's drumming right now. And this is kind of the problem when we're talking about real drumming versus not real. It's really easy for people to get elitist, which I think is completely unnecessary, but it's very common among musicians. Unfortunately, I used to be one of these elitist musicians, by the way. Back when I was playing a kit of acoustic drums, I was a metalhead. I was like super elitist. I hated all electronic music. I thought it was lame. It doesn't count as music. I had all those classic, elitist musician attitudes. But thankfully, I got over them and I matured a little bit and realized that the point of music is just to play and have fun, and it's for creative expression, is to enjoy yourself. So there's no point in arguing over what's real and what's not, because it usually comes from the mind of someone who wants to prove superiority. It usually just comes from an insecure person, these kind of elitist arguments. But I do think it's an interesting discussion, and reading through the comments of that video, which I'm about to do, it revealed a lot of people's points and thoughts, but it also revealed some places where I can maybe respond and just clarify, because finger drumming is brand new. It's still a brand new thing. It's very niche. Not a lot of people have ever seen someone playing what sounds like a full drum kit on a set of MIDI pads. So I think, part of my mission, actually my whole mission, is just to make finger drumming more popular, more accessible. That's why I'm teaching and also creating music videos like this, so I can kind of spread it and put it out there and get it seen by more people, so that people who are interested in playing and learning finger drumming can be like, oh, this is awesome. I didn't know this was a possibility. I'm going to go pick this up and start trying to play. So that's my whole purpose, is just to spread the word about finger drumming. But again, the purpose of this video is to clarify exactly my thoughts and my position on drumming. Is it real? Does it count? Is it legitimate? Etc. So let's look at some of the comments from this video. This was amazing, but it isn't drumming. It's something else entirely. Certainly takes pianist coordination to pull off, but it's completely different to playing an actual drum kit. In all, I mean to say those who compare the two are drawing false equivalences. So yes, this person is totally correct. Playing finger drumming is not the same as playing a drum kit. And that's kind of one of the points that I want to make with this video, is that I'm not saying finger drumming is the same as or better than acoustic drumming. I'm saying it's a legitimate, valid category of drumming. Again, people usually think of drumming equals drum kit, and that's it. But obviously, there's many different types and categories of drumming. You can bang on some pots and pans with sticks. You can bang on a whole drum kit with sticks. You can play electronic drums with sticks. You can play drums with your hands, with your fingers, etc. There's all different ways to combine these. So I'm not trying to say that finger drumming is the same as or better than playing a drum kit. It's just a different category, but it's still equally valid and legitimate as a type of drumming. Drummers play real drums, a percussion instrument consisting of a hollow shell or cylinder with a drum head stretched over one or both ends that is beaten with the hands or with some implement, such as a stick or wire brush. Again, this person is totally accurate about what a drum is, but I think it's unfair to say that unless you're playing a physical acoustic drum, you're not a drummer. Because again, like I said, humans have been drumming since long before we invented these drums, and I think it totally counts as drumming to be using sticks or your hands to play on a log or your lap or whatever. To me, drumming is just hitting something rhythmically with something else. That's pretty much it. It's just rhythmic hitting, right? Percussive hitting. You don't need to be playing a drum to be drumming. And an interesting point here is people think of, okay, well, an acoustic drum kit is just, that's what it is. It's called drumming because you're playing a drum kit. But think about this. A drum kit also includes cymbals, right? And so a drum kit has maybe, 4 or 5 drums and maybe 4 or 5 cymbals. And so about 50% of the time, a drummer is hitting cymbals. So are they only 50% a drummer? It's like, obviously not. We all understand that they're playing things rhythmically. Or if there's a section in a song where they're only playing on the cymbals, or they're not drumming, right? They're cymbaling or whatever. It's like, this is where these definitions it's just too nitpicky to say, to cling to these elitist definitions of like, this is the only way that it can be called drumming. It's like, just relax. Drumming is just hitting something rhythmically, okay? You should try a real drum kit. Like I said in the beginning of this video, I started out playing acoustic drums when I was 14 years old, and I played those for 5 years religiously before I ever discovered finger drumming. But that doesn't matter, right? I don't need an official credential as an acoustic drummer in order for me to be a legit finger drummer. Like I've said before, they're just two different but equally valid categories of drumming. And I think a lot of people watching this video kind of assumed, oh, this guy's only a finger drummer. He's never played a drum kit. He can't play a drum kit. There's a lot of comments similar to this that are like, that's cool, now try it on a real drum kit, right? And it's like, again, it doesn't really matter. Even if I didn't have any acoustic drumming experience and couldn't do this on an acoustic kit, it just doesn't really matter. Like, I'm having fun playing finger drums, and that's all that matters. Just having fun, enjoying playing music, and sharing with the world this new musical instrument. It's like finger skateboarding, not real skateboarding, but still involves a lot of skill, just different things. Why pretend like they're the same? This is actually a good point. It makes sense. It's logical, right? So, obviously we have skateboarding, which is a full-size skateboard under your feet and you ride around on that. And then there's, finger skateboarding. You've seen those where you ride with your two fingers, right? And that's a good comparison to draw. So yeah, it is a different skill. It's a different thing entirely. And yeah, they're not the same. However, again, what I'm saying is that drumming is the overall category, and acoustic drumming and finger drumming are two different but equally valid types of drumming. Again, I think a lot of people are conflating acoustic drumming is just drumming. And then if it's not the same as acoustic, it doesn't count as drumming. But that's not the case, because acoustic drum kits also were only invented like 100 years ago. So before that, was nobody a drummer? Obviously not. People were playing snare drums in marching bands. A marching band was actually, that was what existed before acoustic drum kit was invented, where basically all the pieces of what is now a kit were played by individual players. So one person was playing the bass drum, one person was playing the snare drum, one person was just playing cymbals again. So, the argument that the only valid type of drumming is acoustic drumming is just not accurate. And while acoustic drumming is not the same as finger drumming, they're both valid. Oh, it's real drumming. It's just not very good. Dang, well, I think he got me there. I don't have any response to that. Okay, now let's look at some more positive comments, people that kind of understood what I was trying to do. If people can play the bongos with their fingers and hands, then why is this not considered drumming too? Awesome video. Thank you. Yes, exactly. That's the point I've been making with this video, is that you can play a bongo or any other kind of drum or not a drum. You can play anything rhythmically, percussively, with fingers, with hands, with sticks, whatever you want, and it still counts as drumming. Tell them drumming existed before drumsticks. Yep. Same point. Thank you, Gavin. This is way easier than real drums, which is why people should use it. Now, this is one that I wanted to respond to because I don't want people to be thinking that I'm coming in and trying to promote a new elitism of finger drumming, where it's like, oh, acoustic drumming is lame now. It's old school. It's too hard, too complicated. Finger drumming is now the legit best type of drumming. That is not what I'm trying to do. I'm simply introducing it as an additional type of drumming. There's no need to get into these kinds of arguments or elitist debates. It's just about having fun and playing the music that you want to play for your own creative expression and enjoyment. I disagree with the premise that somehow a drum kit is a more valid medium for artistic expression. Clearly he's a talented artist and that's all that matters. He could use buckets and pots and pans and it would be no less valid as art. Yes, thank you very much, by the way. Yeah, totally. I agree with this. It's like the point of making art, again, is just to have fun and express yourself. It doesn't really matter which tools you use. A lot of people look down on specifically electronic stuff these days. So anything that comes out that's fully digital or electronic, like finger drumming. And this happened, back in the early 2000s with like dubstep and electronic dance music becoming mainstream due to people like Skrillex and stuff. I remember hearing so much hate for him specifically. He was like the guy to hate, for electronic music becoming popular. So there's been tons of hate from musicians for decades now over electronic music in general and anything that's made electronically, but it doesn't really matter. It's just about having fun, and whatever tool you want to use to express yourself is great, right? It's not about being the best, being right, being superior, choosing like the traditional classical approved method. It doesn't matter. Just have fun. If you're having fun, you're succeeding as a musician. If you're not having fun, even if you have all the best stuff, the best gear, the superior, greatest quality, then you're failing as a musician. If you're not enjoying it, that's all that matters, just to have fun, express yourself, lighten up. Music comes from the heart. It's more emotional. It's soulful. It's not so like hyper intellectual and elitist. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to respond to some of those comments so that I could clarify my personal position on finger drumming and what I see for it in the future, because I think it's going to be a huge thing in the future. And that is, again, my whole mission at Dragon Finger Drums is to teach the art of finger drumming and to just showcase to the world what finger drumming is and show people that it's a valid musical instrument and a fun way to play drums. It's great. You know, you can record and play at any time. It's so portable. It's so quiet. You can put on headphones. You know, it's much cheaper than buying drums in most cases. So it's a great instrument to play if you want to be able to play and record drums. It's a fantastic option. So I do have a free finger drumming starter course on my website. The link is going to be in the pinned comment or in the video description down below. It's totally free course. It's a full setup walkthrough for my style of realistic finger drumming. It shows you exactly how to set up all your pads, how to set up a free drum emulator software so you get the best sounding drum samples. And there's some lessons on starting to do some basic drum grooves and how to isolate your hands to play drum grooves on the pads. And on my website, I also have full-length, in-depth courses like the foundation course and the master course, which are for those who want to go really deep and learn all about finger drumming. I teach everything that I know about finger drumming that I've learned over my 10 years in those courses. So if you're interested in learning more and becoming a more experienced and skilled finger drummer and helping me and this whole community take finger drumming into the mainstream, then go ahead and check out those courses on my website. Again, the starter course is completely free. Let me know in the comments if you have any responses to this or any thoughts about this whole subject and the debate of finger drumming versus acoustic drumming. Which one's real? Which one's better? I'd be interested to hear what you think about this. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.